Sonya Furlong has been selected by the Australian Business Journal as one of the top 20 personal development experts of 2022. Centre for Life Therapies was created by Sonya Furlong out of her desire to reach more people with the healing tools of life coaching, therapy, hypnosis, and meditation, so they can live their best lives. Welcome, Sonya. Really excited to have you on board.
Thank you, Eob. I'm so excited to be here.
All right, fantastic. I'll let you be.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So lovely to have you here. I'm very honoured to be speaking today at Growth Gen. So I am here. My name is Sonya Furlong, as Eob said, and I want to talk about how everything that you want in your business, in your life, the success that you want, the achievements that you want, the fulfillment that you want, that actually it all begins within you, that you have all the resources you need to have whatever you want, and you just need to go within and tap into those resources. And I'm going to talk about that today. So we're going to talk about knowing yourself, nurturing your natural strengths, and smashing through your limiting beliefs. So a tiny bit about me, for those of you who don't know. This is my treasure, my family, my why. Love and connection is my highest value. There's my soulmate husband and my stepdaughter. In the middle are my beautiful two adult sons. Can't believe they're already grown up. There we are on the top of Sydney Harbour Bridge. We did that the other weekend. That was an exciting experience. And this little guy, Winston, the puggle, do they even realise how cute they are when they stand there holding their plushy toys in their mouth? So these are the people that light me up and that make my life extremely worthwhile. And in case you want to know, who is she? What's she done? I'm a certified trainer of neuro-linguistic programming, which it's neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP. It's the study of success. It teaches you leadership, emotional intelligence, communication skills. I'm also a certified trainer of matrix therapies, which teaches you how to heal a lot of negative emotion, limiting belief, and includes a lot of really beautiful inner child work. I'm a certified trainer of hypnotherapy. I have an advanced diploma of life coaching, and I'm insured with Aon. And I'm accredited with all of these wonderful international organisations. So even though the coaching industry isn't officially like through the government regulated, but there are standards, there are regulatory bodies. And if you're working with a coach or a trainer, you want to make sure that they are part of a regulatory body, because then you know that they are working by a code of ethics and that there are standards that they hold themselves to. And as Eob said, I was very honoured to be selected by the Australian Business Journal as one of the top 20 Australian personal development experts and coaches to work with in 2022. So got to milk that for another few months before the year's over. And my passion is my students and my clients. I live for these guys, wonderful human beings who choose to work on themselves. As I say to every single client and student, all you have to do is work on yourself. Whatever you want, just work on yourself. And these are dynamic, incredible human beings who took the challenge, and they become friends of mine. We often work together over a number of years. They might begin as clients and then graduate to students. And these human beings, they go off to achieve great things. They run million-dollar companies. They become coaches in their own right, or they become at the top of their profession. So it's my joy to facilitate this growth and healing in the people who come to my trainings and my coaching. So what I really want to talk to you about today is about emotional intelligence. And I became very interested in emotional intelligence through my working with my students and clients, because I noticed there was a huge, long spectrum of emotional intelligence. And so today we're going to talk about what is it, why is it important, and techniques to improve it. And so let's begin with what is it. So the definition is it's the ability to recognize, interpret, and process emotions in yourself and others. So it's what you're feeling and how is that affecting others, and it's how others are feeling and how that is affecting you. And what is so wonderful is that emotional intelligence has that plasticity about it, that neuroplasticity. It's flexible, it is responsive to change. So you can develop your emotional intelligence, which is really wonderful, because in psychology, they say that, much of our personality is fixed, much of our IQ is fixed, but not emotional intelligence. That is something that can grow and evolve, and you can learn the skills to increase your emotional intelligence, which is wonderful. And so why is that important? Because the more emotionally intelligent you are, the more successful and effortless your life will be. You will have a level of personal and social competence that makes relationships really easy, that helps you manage stress, that helps you improve your relationships, allows you to have those difficult conversations in a mature manner without all the emotional explosions that can happen, and allows you to resolve issues and improve your negotiation skills. These are just some of the attributes of someone who has emotional intelligence. So what I found is that there is this spectrum, and often people who are extraordinarily successful still may be low on emotional intelligence. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they won't be financially successful, but their lack of emotional intelligence is going to show up in their relationships, in their private and personal relationships. So on one end of the spectrum of emotional intelligence are people who are not able to access their emotions. And this is a real problem. If you don't know what you're feeling, then you're not going to be able to truly understand what another person is feeling as well. Because if they're speaking about how they're feeling hurt or upset, it's going to be hard for you to understand if you have difficulty accessing those same emotions. So this inability to feel, is it nature or is it nurture? Everyone's unique, so it could be either. I do see people who have had trauma as a child, or who've had just a very emotionally disconnected childhood, like they may have been brought up with parents who were low in emotional intelligence, so they were never encouraged or they never learnt how to express their emotions. And it's like they have this wall around their heart. And they're just not really able to feel to that same level as someone who has more emotional intelligence. Then on the other end of the spectrum are people who are overly emotional, highly emotional all the time. And life is this giant roller coaster of highs and lows. And if you're in a relationship with someone like this, you've got to hold on and you're on for the ride. So this is also not resourceful and not helpful for the individual or for their loved ones and people that they need to deal with on a day-to-day basis. So these people, they may cry at the drop of a hat, they may have explosive anger, or have, extreme anxiety. And these kinds of emotions are getting in the way of their journey in life. It's like one step forward, two steps back. They're sort of making progress, and then these extreme emotions can damage the relationships and the progress they're making in, say, their career or whatnot. So this also needs to be managed so that a person can function at a higher level. So where we want to get a person is in that happy middle ground of emotional intelligence, where they can access their emotions, but they have control over them. So rather than being a slave to your emotions, where you're just dragged around, not knowing in the morning what you're going to wake up to, am I going to be emotional today? Am I going to be anxious? Am I going to be teary? And then just kind of like being on the back of a horse and the horse has control. You want to be in control, in the saddle, holding the reins, directing your life and directing your emotions accordingly. So you can feel your emotions, but you're also able to understand them and interpret them and regulate them. So emotional regulation is a big part of emotional intelligence. And what's so wonderful is that it's possible to learn different skills to increase your emotional intelligence. And this lines up very beautifully with one of the NLP presuppositions, which is the law of requisite variety, which my computer's just having a little pause. So hopefully you can all see and hear me without any problem. So the law of requisite variety says the person with the most but flexibility of behavior will control the system. And how this presupposition, or it's like an assumption that I call it like the commandments of NLP, what NLP is based on. It came from when the founders of NLP were developing these concepts. They realized that there were different types of therapists, and there were some therapists who they studied Gestalt therapy, and that's all they did. And then there was another therapist who studied Reiki, and that's all they did. And there was another therapist who just studied hypnotherapy, and that's all they did. And they wouldn't talk to each other, and instead they were of the opinion that my therapy is the best and nobody else knows what they're talking about, which actually meant they were limited in how they could help their patients and clients. So the law of requisite variety means that if you are more open-minded to different concepts and different styles of teaching and different schools of thought, that you are going to then be able to have a much more powerful influence on facilitating your clients' or patients' healing. So that's where this wonderful understanding came from, which lines up beautifully with emotional intelligence, of that the more behavioral flexibility you have, the more you're going to be able to control your life in the direction that you want. Okay, so let's talk about negative emotions. So in NLP, we talk about the 6 umbrella of negative emotions. These are anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt, and shame. So we all have these negative emotions to one degree or another, and certain times in our life or certain situations may increase these negative emotions. And what I want you to understand is that negative emotions are normal, that you are not broken just because you're feeling bad, that you are okay. And we're not meant to feel positive all the time. You see these people, I call it toxic positivity, where they're just so positive, they're never going to, say that anything is bad. And often behind closed doors, these people are often very emotional. So we want to embrace our emotions. We want to understand them and sit with them and acknowledge them and move through them, right? We certainly don't want them to hang around longer than they need to, but we want to understand them and process them. So what I want, and in emotional intelligence, we want to understand that we don't want to run away from our negative emotions. It's easy to stuff them down and bury them under food, alcohol, or other mindless or addictive behavior. But instead, we actually want to bring them forward and actually have a look at them and acknowledge them and understand them, because emotions actually have very important information for you. Your negative emotions are trying to tell you something very important. And it's usually that they have a message for you. So you can tune in, and this is where you need to be able to feel your emotion, yes? So this is difficult for those who are on that end of the spectrum where they can't feel their emotions. But most people, and if you can't feel your emotions, then get curious about that. It's like, oh, I wonder if I did feel sadness, where would that sit in my body and what would that feel like? And actually start to tune in, because the emotions are there. They're just hidden under a wall of protection that you've put up at some point in your life to protect yourself from feeling too strongly. So we can tune in, we can feel, where is the anger? Where is the sadness? Where is the fear? Go one by one and go, okay, I can feel this anger. It's in my chest, it's in my fists. And then ask your body, what do I need to know? What do I need to know so that I can take some action so I can turn this experience around? So some examples of messages from your negative emotions could be, what truth are you not admitting to? Or, putting it another way, what is really troubling you that you have been denying is a problem? Or, what needs to change that you're too scared to do? So you can really sit with these questions. You can journal them, take a screenshot of them, journal them, and really tune in. I know for my own mental health journey in my 30s, when my first marriage was breaking down, I had a lot of issues with depression, went on for 3 years of depression. And I went to the doctor, I did the antidepressants, I went to the psychologist, I did all of that. And at the end of the day, it was when I really tuned in and accepted the truth that I was denying the fact that my marriage was over. And when I finally was able to face that and accept that, there was like this huge weight lifted off my shoulders, and I knew exactly what to do. And then began this last, how long has it been now? This 11 years of the most exhilarating, fulfilling years of my life, once I got the message from my negative emotion and took the right action. So here's some other things that could happen. Maybe an honest conversation is required in a relationship. That was certainly the case for me. Or it could be time to change jobs. Or it could be it's time to focus on your personal growth or health and well-being and forget the external pursuit of material success for a while. Sometimes we really need to tune into ourselves and work on our spiritual development a bit to reach that new level of certainty and self-awareness before we can go out and conquer the world again. So these are some examples of some messages and some actions that could need to be had in answer to your negative emotions. So please share too if any of this is resonating with you. So going on from our negative emotions, I want to talk about our limiting beliefs. Let's talk about them. What is a limiting belief? It is any belief, conscious or unconscious, that limits your ability to increase your freedom and choices. And so what I love, one of the many things I love about NLP is that NLP is all about freedom and choice and allowing the client to experience more freedom and choice. So when we're working on the client healing and finding their self-belief and their power, it's so that they can make decisions that are in alignment with their highest truths, with their values, so that they may increase their freedom and choice.